In Boise, Idaho, Lena Hart, a single mom and nurse, faces a nightmare. Her wealthy, estranged parents want her autistic son Caleb. Armed with money and her ruthless attorney brother, they claim she's unfit. But as lies unravel and threats darken her door, Lena fights back. What's the real cost of family? A courtroom war, a shattered window, and a truth that could destroy them all. Welcome to The Cost of Blood. A tale of betrayal, love, and survival. Lena Hart never imagined her life would unravel in a sterile courtroom in downtown Boise, Idaho. The city's autumn chill seeped through the cracks of the old Ada County courthouse, but it was the icy stares from across the aisle that made her shiver. Her parents, Margaret and Richard Hart, sat ramrod straight, their tailored suits and silver hair screaming wealth and entitlement. Beside them was her brother James, his sharp jawline set like a predator's, his legal pad pristine, and his pin poised. They were here to take Caleb, her 8-year-old son, her entire world, away from her. Lena adjusted her thrift store blazer, smoothing it over her scrubs. She'd come straight from a 12-hour shift at St. Luke's Hospital, where she'd spent the night coaxing a frightened teenager through an appendectomy recovery. Her hands still smelled faintly of antiseptic, a reminder of the life she'd built, one her family deemed unfit. She glanced at her lawyer, Tom Grayson, a wiry public defender with tired eyes and a rumpled tie. He was outmatched, and they both knew it. The judge, a stern woman with a gray bob, peered over her glasses. "We'll begin with the petitioner's opening statement, Mr. Hart." James stood, his voice smooth as polished marble. "Your Honor, my clients, Margaret and Richard Hart, seek emergency custody of their grandson, Caleb Hart, due to the demonstrable neglect and instability of his mother, Lena Hart. As a single mother with a demanding job, she cannot provide the specialized care Caleb requires for his autism. We have evidence of missed therapy appointments, unsafe living conditions, and emotional distress that jeopardizes his well-being. My parents offer a stable, affluent environment, an estate in Sun Valley with access to top-tier specialists. This is about Caleb's future." Lena's stomach twisted. Missed therapy? She'd juggled night shifts and overtime to pay for every session, unsafe conditions. Their 2-bedroom apartment in Boise's North End wasn't luxurious, but it was home, filled with Caleb's drawings and the weighted blanket she'd sewn herself to calm his meltdowns. Emotional distress, that was rich, coming from the family who'd disowned her a decade ago. Tom scribbled notes, whispering, "We'll counter this, stay calm." The memory of the summons still burned. It had arrived 2 weeks ago, stuffed in her mailbox like junk mail. She'd been making Caleb's lunch, peanut butter sandwich, crusts off, apple slices in a perfect circle when she opened it, emergency custody petition. Her parents' signatures stared back, cold and formal. She'd called James that night, her voice shaking. "Why are you doing this?" she'd demanded. His reply was clipped. "You're in over your head, Lena. Caleb deserves better." "Better than me, his mother?" "Better than a life of chaos," he'd said, then hung up. Now, in court, Margaret took the stand, her pearls gleaming. "We've watched from afar as Lena struggles. Caleb's a brilliant boy, his drawings, his patterns, but he needs structure, resources. She works herself to exhaustion, leaving him alone or with strangers. Last month, he wandered off during one of her shifts. A neighbor found him blocks away." Lena gripped the table. That was one time. She'd been stuck in traffic after a pileup on I-84, and Caleb had slipped out the back door. Her neighbor, Mrs. Ortiz, had found him counting cracks in the sidewalk, safe, unharmed. Lena had cried for hours, blaming herself, but she'd installed a deadbolt the next day. "It wasn't neglect, it was a mistake." Tom leaned over. "They're painting you as reckless. We need to show your dedication." The hearing stretched on, James presenting photos of her cluttered apartment, laundry piled high, dishes in the sink, snapped by a private investigator they'd hired. Lena's cheeks burned. She'd been pulling doubles to cover Caleb's sensory toys and speech therapy co-pays. Of course, her place wasn't spotless. When it was her turn, she stood, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Your Honor, I'm not perfect. I work hard because I have to. Caleb's my priority. Every shift I take is for him. My parents cut me off when I got pregnant at 19. They didn't want me or him. Now, they're acting like I'm the failure. I've raised him alone, and he's thriving. He reads at a 5th grade level. He hugs me every night. They don't know him. The judge nodded, but her face remained unreadable. We'll recess until tomorrow. Ms. Hart, be prepared to address these allegations in detail. Outside, Lena lit a cigarette, her first in months, watching smoke curl into the crisp air. Tom joined her, hands in his pockets. They've got money and a slick narrative. We need something concrete, proof they're not the saints they claim. Lena exhaled. They're not. My dad's a control freak. Mom's a ghost unless he says otherwise. James, he's always been their weapon. When I left, he told me I'd regret it. This is revenge. Tom frowned. Revenge for what? She stubbed out the cigarette. For choosing Caleb over them. That night, Lena sat in her apartment, Caleb asleep in his room. His soft snores mingled with the hum of the radiator. She opened her laptop, digging through old emails, photos, anything to fight back. Then she found it, a message from James, dated 9 years ago, right after Caleb's birth. You're a disgrace. Don't expect us to clean up your mess. Her pulse quickened. If she could show their abandonment, their hypocrisy, maybe the judge would see through this charade, but it wasn't enough. She needed more, something to unravel their perfect facade. The phone rang. It was Mrs. Ortiz. Lena, someone's been sniffing around again. Fancy car, taking pictures. Lena's grip tightened. Thanks, Mrs. O. Lock your doors. She hung up, heart pounding. This wasn't just a custody grab. It was war. Lena barely slept. The glow of her laptop screen burned her eyes as she scrolled through years of buried emails, hunting for ammunition. Caleb's weighted blanket was draped over her lap, its familiar heft grounding her as the clock ticked past 2 a.m. Outside, Boise's north end was silent save for the occasional rustle of leaves skittering down Hyde Park Street, but her mind raced. Who was in that fancy car Mrs. Ortiz saw? Another investigator or something worse? By morning, her coffee was cold and her hands shook from exhaustion and adrenaline. She'd found more. A curt email from her mother, dated 6 months after Caleb's birth. Richard says we're done with you. Don't call. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was proof they'd washed their hands of her. She forwarded it to Tom, along with James's disgrace message, then got Caleb ready for school. He hummed softly, lining up his cereal spoons by faith, a ritual that calmed them both. Mommy's fighting for you, buddy, she whispered, kissing his forehead. He didn't look up, but his small hand squeezed hers. That was enough. At the courthouse, the air felt heavier. James called his next witness, Dr. Ellen Voss, a child psychologist with a crisp blazer and a resume longer than Lena's shift log. Voss had evaluated Caleb once for an hour after James arranged it through a school referral Lena hadn't approved. Caleb exhibits signs of emotional dysregulation, Voss testified, her tone clinical. He's socially withdrawn, prone to sensory overload, and lacks consistent parental oversight. His mother's work schedule exacerbates these issues. In a structured environment with full-time care, he'd flourish. Lena's nails dug into her palms. She'd been at that evaluation, watching Caleb trace patterns on the carpet while Voss asked questions he didn't answer. He'd been quiet, sure, but dysregulated? He'd hugged Lena after, smiling. She leaned to Tom. She's twisting it. He's autistic, not broken. Tom nodded, jotting notes. We'll cross-examine. Hang on. When it was his turn, Tom stood, adjusting his tie. Voss, you met Caleb once, correct? Yes, she replied, unfazed. And you're aware, Ms. Hart works nights to afford his therapies, speech, occupational, sensory, which he attends regularly? Voss hesitated. I wasn't provided that context. So your assessment of lack of oversight is based on incomplete data? James objected, but the judge overruled. Voss shifted. It's based on what I observed. Tom pressed on. Did Caleb seem distressed during your session? No, she admitted, but long-term stability? Thank you, Tom cut in, sitting down. Lena exhaled, a small win. But then Richard took the stand, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who'd built a real estate empire in Sun Valley. Lena's always been reckless, dropped out of college, got pregnant by some deadbeat, refused our help. Now she's drowning and Caleb's paying the price. We have the means to give him a real life, private tutors, a safest estate, no K. The judge scribbled something. Lena's throat tightened. Refused their help? They'd offered her money once to fix her mistake. She'd said no, choosing Caleb over their strings. Now, they were rewriting history. When court adjourned, Lena cornered Chief in the hall. They're lying. Dad didn't build that empire alone. He screwed over half the valley. Mom's a shell. She just nods. And James, he's got dirt. I know it. Tom rubbed his temples. We need evidence, not hunches. Can you get anything solid? I'll try, she said, mind already churning. That afternoon, she called in a favor. Her old high school friend Mia worked at the Idaho Statesman, digging through archives for a living. Over the phone, Lena explained everything. Sun Valley Hearts, huh? Mia said, chewing gum loudly. I'll poke around. Your dad's got a trail. Lawsuits, shady deals, might take a day. Thanks, Mia. I owe you. Don't thank me yet. These rich types bury stuff deep. Lena hung up, then drove to Caleb's school for pickup. He bounded out, clutching a drawing, jagged lines in red and black. Storm, he said, pointing at it, looks intense, bud. She forced a smile, but her gut twisted. Was he sensing her turmoil? Back home, she cooked mac and cheese, his favorite, while replaying Richard's testimony, reckless, the word stung. She'd been 19, scared, but she'd clawed her way up. Nursing school, certifications, a stable job. They'd had everything handed to them, yet judged her for scraping by. Her phone buzzed. Mia. Found something. Your dad settled a case in '98. Disgruntled partner claimed he forged signatures on land deals. Quiet payout, no admission of guilt. And James, he's got a sealed juvie record. Can't crack it yet, but it's there. Lena's pulse raced. That's a start. Keep digging. She sat at the kitchen table staring at Caleb's drawing. Forgery, secrets, her family's pristine image was cracking. But why, Caleb? Why now? Then it hit her. Last month, she'd gotten a letter from a lawyer, her great-aunt's estate. A small trust for Caleb, payable when he turned 18. Her parents had been CC'd. It wasn't millions, but enough to tempt them. Control the kid, control the cash. She grabbed her phone, texting Tom, check Caleb's trust fund. I think that's their angle. The reply came fast. On it. Bring everything tomorrow. Lena looked at Caleb, now stacking blocks in perfect towers. We're gonna win, baby, she whispered, but doubt gnawed at her. James was too smart, too ruthless. She needed more than a theory. Outside, headlights flashed through the blinds. That fancy car again. She peeked out, a black SUV idling, then it peeled away. Her hands shook as she locked the door. This wasn't just about custody anymore. It was personal, and it was getting dangerous. Lena's alarm blared at 5 a.m., dragging her from a restless half-sleep. She'd spent the night jumping at every creak in the apartment, the black SUV's headlights still seared into her mind. Caleb stirred as she tucked his blanket tighter, his soft breathing a lifeline amid the chaos. She couldn't shake the feeling that her family wasn't just fighting for custody, they were hunting her. At the kitchen table, she nursed a mug of instant coffee, rereading Tom's text. Trust funds real, $250K. Your parents aren't named guardians. They'd need custody to access it. It made sense. Richard thrived on control. Margaret followed his lead. James, he'd do the dirty work. But $250,000 wasn't a fortune to them. There had to be more. Her phone buzzed. Mia again. Got a lead on James's juvie record? Friend at the clerk's office says it's sealed, but there's a rumor he torched a barn in '89. Arson, 16 years old. No, my charges stuck. Daddy's money, probably. And your dad's land deal? That partner died broke in '01. Whispers of threats. Lena's grip tightened. Threats? Yeah. Nothing solid, but the guy's widow swore Richard ruined him. I'll keep pushing. Thanks, Mia. Be careful. She hung up, heart pounding. Arson, threats. Her family's wealth wasn't just luck. It was blood money, and now they were turning on her. She grabbed Caleb's drawing from the fridge, those red and black streaks. Storm, maybe he saw more than she realized. At the courthouse, the air crackled with tension. James wore a smug grin, his suit crisp as ever. Margaret dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief, crocodile tears. Richard's stare bore into Lena, daring her to blink. Tom started strong, presenting the emails. Your Honor, these messages from Mr. and Mrs. Hart show a clear pattern of abandonment. They disowned Lena at 19, offering no support for Caleb. Now they claim she's unfit? It's inconsistent, James countered smoothly. My clients regret their distance. They've matured, seen their grandson's potential. Lena's instability forced their hand. The judge frowned. Regret doesn't erase a decade of absence, Ms. Hart, your response? Lena stood, voice steady. They didn't want Caleb until they saw a dollar sign. My great-aunt left him a trust fund, $250,000. They're not named in it. This isn't about love, it's greed. The courtroom buzzed. James's jaw twitched, but he recovered. Speculation, Your Honor. No evidence ties this to our petition. Yet, Tom interjected, sliding the trust document across. It's dated 6 weeks ago, right before their filing. The judge raised an eyebrow. Interesting timing. I'll review this. During the recess, Lena stepped outside, lighting another cigarette. Tom joined her, optimistic. We've got traction. If we can link their past to this motive, a shadow low dimensions her. A man in a leather jacket, broad shoulders, buzz cut, leaned against the courthouse wall, watching her. He didn't move, just stared. Her stomach dropped. The SUV guy? Tom, she whispered, nodding toward him. That's not normal. Tom squinted. Stay here. He approached the man, who straightened, muttered something, and walked off toward a parked black SUV. Tom returned, grim. Said he's a concerned citizen. Bullshit, they're watching you. Lena crushed her cigarette. James is doing? Or your dad's, we need to rattle them. Back inside, Tom called his witness, Mrs. Ortiz, her gray curls bouncing as she took the stand. Lena's a good mom, she said firmly. That boy's her world. But lately, fancy cars been circling our block, nighttime headlights off, scared my cats. James cross-examined, all charm. Mrs. Ortiz, could it be unrelated? Boise's not Mayberry? She glared. I know a snoop when I see one. Started after that custody nonsense. The judge's pen paused. Lena caught James whispering to Richard, his cool cracking. Good. After court, Lena picked Caleb. Storm's coming, he said, clutching her hand. She nodded, chills creeping up her spine. At home, she locked every window, double-checked the deadbolt. Then her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered, cautious. Lena. A low voice rasped. Drop this, you won't like the alternative. Who is this? She demanded. Click. Silence. Her hands shook as she dialed Tom. They're threatening me. Record everything, he said. I'm calling a cop friend off the books, and Lena, don't go anywhere alone. She hung up, pulling Caleb close. His tower stood tall on the carpet, oblivious to the storm brewing outside. She thought of James's sealed record, Richard's dead partner. This wasn't just about money, it was power, and she was in their crosshairs. Then, a knock. She froze, peering through the peephole, a delivery guy holding a package. She opened the door a crack, signing with trembling fingers. Inside was a single photo. Her and Caleb at the park, taken last week. On the back, scrawled in red ink, back off. She slammed the door, breath ragged. They weren't just watching, they were closing in. Lena clutched the photo, its edges digging into her palms. The park swing set blurred in the image, but Caleb's smile, one unguarded, stabbed at her. Back off. The red ink screamed louder than the threat itself. She slid it into a Ziploc bag, hands trembling, and called Tom. Jesus, Lena, he said, voice tight. Bring it to court tomorrow. My cop buddy's running the SUV's plates, unregistered, but he's digging. Stay put tonight. She hung up, checking the locks again. Caleb slept, his chest rising and falling under his dinosaur quilt. She sat by his bed, watching him, every creak of the apartment amplifying her dread. Her family wasn't just rich, they were ruthless, and she'd underestimated them. Morning came too fast. She dropped Caleb at school, his teacher promising extra vigilance, then met Tom outside the courthouse. His tie was straighter today, his eyes sharp. We're hitting back hard. The photo, the trust fund, Mrs. Ortiz's testimony, it's a pattern. They're desperate. Lena nodded, clutching the Ziploc. I want to talk to James. Alone. Tom frowned. Risky. He's a shark. I know him. If I can get him to slip. Fine, after court, I'll be close. Inside, the air buzzed with anticipation. Tom presented the photo, holding it up like a grenade. Your Honor, this was delivered to Ms. Hart last night. A clear threat. We've got a witness to suspicious vehicles, a trust fund motive, and now this. The petitioners aren't acting in good faith. They're intimidating her. The judge's brow furrowed as she examined it. James stood, voice icy. No proof ties this to my clients. It's a distraction? Then explain the timing, Tom shot back. The SUV sighting started with your filing. Coincidence? Richard shifted in his seat. Margaret's handkerchief froze mid-dab. The judge tapped her pen. I'll allow it into evidence. Proceed with caution, counsel. Next, Tom called Mia. Reluctantly subpoenaed, chewing gum like a lifeline. I dug into Richard Hart's past, she said. Settled a '98 lawsuit. Partner claimed forgery on land deeds. Guy ended up broke, died bitter. Rumors of coercion. And James Hart, sealed juvie record, whispers of arson. James objected. Hearsay, Your Honor. Sustained, the judge ruled. Stick to facts, Ms. Torres, Mia supplied, popping her gum. Facts are, Richard's got a history of shady wins. James has a past he won't show. The judge dismissed her, but the seed was planted. Lena caught James's glare, fury flickering behind his mask. She'd hit a nerve. After recess, she cornered him in the hallway, Tom hovering nearby. James loomed over her, 6'2" to her 5'5", his cologne sharp and expensive. What's this really about, James? She demanded. The trust's peanuts to you. Why Caleb? He smirked, adjusting his cufflinks. You're paranoid. We want what's best for him. Bullshit. You called me a disgrace. Dad threatened people. You're not saints. You're bullies. His eyes darkened. You walked away, Lena. Left us to clean up your mess. Now you're surprised we're fixing it. Fixing it? You're stalking me, threatening me? He stepped closer, voice low. Keep pushing and you'll lose more than Caleb. You've got no idea what we're capable of. Her blood ran cold, but she held his gaze. I've got an idea. Arson, maybe? How'd that barn burn, James? His jaw clenched, a crack in his armor. Watch yourself, he hissed, then strode off, shoes clicking on the tile. Tom grabbed her arm. What'd he say? Enough, she muttered, heart racing. He'd flinched at arson. She was close. That night she pored over Mia's notes, cross-referencing dates. The barn fire, 89 Sun Valley, a rancher's property, torched after a land dispute with Richard. No proof, but James was there, 16, cocky. Then the Ninthgate partner, dead after losing everything, patterns of ruin. Her phone rang, Mia breathless. Jackpot, found a deposition from the widow buried in microfiche. She said Richard bragged about teaching lessons, implied he'd do worse if she talked, and James, she saw him lurking near her house before her husband's accident. Accident? Lena pressed. Car crash, brake lines cut, cops called it inconclusive. Lena's stomach churned. Murder? Send it to Tom, now. She hung up, pacing. Caleb's trust was the spark, but this was deeper. Decades of control, vengeance against anyone who defied them. She'd defied them by keeping Caleb. Now, they'd destroy her to prove a point. A noise, glass shattering. She spun, grabbing a kitchen knife. The living room window gaped open, shards glinting on the carpet. Footsteps crunched outside. She dialed 911, whispering, Someone's breaking in, hurry. Caleb woke, crying. She scooped him up, locking them in the bathroom. Shh, baby, we're okay? But her pulse thundered. The front door rattled, then silence. Sirens wailed in the distance. When the cops arrived, the intruder was gone. A brick lay on the floor, wrapped in a note, last warning. She showed it to the officer, a grizzled man named Ruiz. This about that custody case? He asked, bagging it. Yeah, she said, voice hollow. My family? He nodded, grim. We'll patrol tonight, get somewhere safe. Tom picked them up, driving to his sister's place, a cramped duplex near the Boise River. Caleb clung to his blanket, silent. Tom handed her a beer. We've got the photo, the brick, the widow's story. Tomorrow we bury them. Lena stared at the can, unopened. Or they bury me. She had proof now, nodding her head. But one question gnawed at her, fight or flee. Lena barely recognized herself in the bathroom mirror of Tom's sister's duplex. Dark circles framed her eyes, her hair a tangled mess. Caleb slept on a pull-out couch, his blanket clutched tight. The brick, the shattered window, the note, last warning, played on a loop in her mind. She'd called in sick to St. Luke's, her first absence in years. Today wasn't about saving others, it was about saving her son. Tom burst in at 7 a.m., tie askew, clutching a folder. Widow's deposition came through, it's damning. Richard's threats, James's presence before the crash. And Ruiz traced the brick to a hardware store near Sun Valley. Security cam caught a guy in a leather jacket buying it, matches your SUV creep. Lena's breath caught. They hired him? Looks like it. We've got enough to flip this. She nodded, steeling herself. Let's end it. The Ada County Courthouse felt like a battlefield. Reporters hovered outside. Word of the break-in had leaked. Inside, James's polish was fraying, his tie hung loose, his eyes darted. Richard sat rigid, Margaret pale beside him. The judge banged her gavel, silencing the hum. Tom went first, voice steady. Your Honor, new evidence shows the petitioner's true intent. This photo, he held up the park shot, and this brick, he lifted the pegged evidence, were delivered to Ms. Hart with threats. A witness saw suspicious vehicles. Police tied the brick to Sun Valley, the Hart's backyard. And this deposition, he slid it forward, from a widow whose husband died after crossing Richard Hart. She alleges coercion, even sabotage. James was there. This isn't custody, it's a vendetta. The room erupted. James leapt up. Objection, this is character assassination. Irrelevant. Overruled, the judge snapped. Sit down, Mr. Hart, I'll hear it. Tom pressed on. They abandoned Lena, then targeted her son when a $250,000 trust surfaced. They've stalked her, broken into her home. Caleb's not safe with them. He's a pawn. The judge peered at the deposition, then the brick. Mr. Hart, your response? James stood, composure cracking. This is a fabrication. My clients acted out of concern. Lena's unstable. Look at her life. We've done nothing illegal. Then explain this, Lena said, standing, voice raw. She'd begged Tom to let her speak. You disowned me, James, called me a disgrace. Dad ruined people. Mom let him. Now you're after Caleb because I wouldn't bend. That brick, you sent it. I know you. Richard's face reddened. Ungrateful? Enough, the judge cut in. Ms. Hart, sit. I've heard plenty. Eat plenty. She recessed for deliberation. Lena's legs shook as she sank into her chair. Tom squeezed her shoulder. You did good. Across the aisle, James whispered furiously to Richard. Margaret stared ahead, vacant. Lena's gut twisted. She'd expose them, but at what cost? An hour later, the judge returned, expression grim. This is a mess. The petitioners present a compelling case for resources, but the respondents' evidence, threats, abandonment, a trust fund motive raises serious doubts. I'm denying emergency custody. Ms. Hart retains full rights pending a welfare check, but I'm referring this to the DA. Those threats warrant investigation. Relief flooded Lena, then dread. Investigation meant more war. James's glare promised it. Outside, reporters swarmed. She ducked them, meeting Tom by his car. It's over, right? For now, he said. DA might press charges. You've got Caleb. Focus there. She nodded, but her mind raced. That night at the duplex, she packed their bags. Caleb stacked blocks, humming. She watched him, heart aching. Boise wasn't safe anymore, not with her family's reach. Her phone buzzed. Mia. Lena, cops nabbed the leather jacket guy. Small-time PI, hired by James. He's talking, says James wanted you scared off. Implicated Richard, too. Lena exhaled. Thanks, Mia. She hung up, staring at Caleb. The trust fund, the threats, the barn, the crash. Her family's legacy was rot. She'd won, but they'd never stop. Not unless she disappeared. Tom drove them to a motel near Nampa, 20 miles west. Lay low, he said. DA's building a case. You're a witness now. She nodded, but her decision was made. That night, she booked a bus ticket. Spokane, Washington. New city, new start. She'd cash out the trust early, use it to vanish. Caleb deserved peace, not this blood feud. At dawn, she woke him gently. Road trip, bud. He rubbed his eyes. No storm? No storm, she lied, kissing his forehead. The bus rumbled north, Boise fading behind them. She'd exposed the truth, her family's greed, their cruelty, but it came, a price. Caleb leaned against her, drawing patterns on the window. She'd fight for him always. But some battles, she realized, you win by walking away. Months later, a Boise headline read, Sun Valley tycoon faces fraud probe, son implicated in threats. Lena saw it online from a library in Spokane. She smiled faintly, then closed the tab. Caleb was at school. New therapists, new friends. She was a nurse again, night shifts in a quiet ER. The cost of blood was high, but she'd paid it and kept her son.